Why women secretly love these 6 things more than money. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to assume that women are primarily attracted to wealth. The media, movies, and even conversations we have tell us that a flashy car, a luxury watch, and a high-paying job are what women really desire. But here's the secret. Women crave something far deeper than these material possessions. They want traits that are rooted in your character, emotional intelligence, and inner strength. What if I told you that the key to capturing a woman's attention lies in qualities that cannot be bought? In fact, if you master these traits, you will become the kind of man that women secretly long for, no matter how much money you make. The truth is, material wealth can only take you so far. But the traits I'm about to reveal are timeless, primal, and universal. They transcend wealth, appearance, and social status. These are the qualities that women find irresistible, the qualities that keep her thinking about you long after conversation is over. So, if you're ready to learn what makes a man truly magnetic, stick with me. By the end of this video, you will discover the 6 traits that 99% of women secretly crave more than money, and why they're far more important than any material possession. Sign 1. The man who doesn't flinch. The power of self-validation. The first type of man that women secretly crave is the one who doesn't flinch. This is a man who doesn't need approval from anyone, especially not from women. He's emotionally self-sufficient, grounded, and comfortable in his own skin. Women are instinctively drawn to men who don't need their validation. Let's break it down. You've probably seen it. Men who constantly try to impress, bend over backward to gain attention, or behave in ways they think will win a woman over. They laugh too hard at her jokes, text excessively, or say things just to get her to like them. But the man who doesn't flinch isn't desperate for anyone's approval. He's not trying to win anyone over. He's just himself, and that's what makes him attractive. Example, let me tell you a story about a man I work with named Jason. Jason was a successful entrepreneur, but what made him stand out wasn't his business acumen. It was his calmness. One night, at a social gathering, he met a woman who was very attractive, and naturally, many of the men at the party were flocking to her. But instead of trying to impress her, Jason simply talked to her like he would anyone else. When she made a witty comment, he didn't laugh excessively to flatter her. He just smiled and nodded. He didn't even seem that interested in winning her over, which completely captivated her. She was intrigued, not because he ignored her, but because he wasn't desperate for her approval. He didn't need to perform or pretend. His self-validation was magnetic. Personal insight. What I've realized through working with men is that the most attractive ones are often the ones who are genuinely indifferent to external validation. It's not about being aloof or uncaring. It's about knowing your worth and not needing anyone to confirm it. Women sense this inner strength, and it naturally draws them in. When you stop chasing attention and simply focus on being the best version of yourself, you become irresistible. Sign 2. The mirror, reflecting her world instead of performing. The second type of man women crave is the mirror. Most men spend their time performing for women, trying to impress with stories about their accomplishments, wealth, or muscles. But the man who is a mirror doesn't perform. Instead, he simply reflects her world back to her in a way that makes her feel truly seen and understood. Example. Let's say you're on a date with a woman, and she starts talking about how stressed she's been with work. A performer might try to one-up her, saying, "Yeah, I work 60-hour weeks, and I've got my own business." But the man who reflects would simply say, "That sounds exhausting. Do you think it's worth it?" Instead of trying to compete, he validates her experience by showing genuine empathy. This kind of response creates an immediate sense of connection. Why does this work so well? Because women often feel like they're constantly being sold something. Whether it's men trying to impress them with their achievements or society telling them how they should behave. Women are constantly under pressure to perform. But when a man simply listens, reflects, and asks thoughtful questions, he creates a space where she can be herself. Personal insight. In my experience, the men who are truly successful in connecting with women are the ones who don't try to perform. They focus on listening, understanding, and empathizing. They don't dominate the conversation. They simply reflect the other person's world back to them. When you make someone feel like you see them for who they truly are, they will remember you in a way that goes far beyond the superficial. Sign 3. The storm is calm, a quiet, intense power. Now, we move on to the third type of man, the one who carries a storm beneath his calm exterior. This man is emotionally grounded and emotionally strong. Women are naturally drawn to men who exhibit calmness, but this calmness is not weakness. It's a quiet strength that radiates an intense emotional power. Example: there's a man I know named Chris, a relatively quiet guy who isn't trying to be the center of attention. At a dinner party, people were laughing and conversations were lively, but Chris didn't feel the need to shout or be overly expressive. When he spoke, his words carried weight. The way he looked at people made them feel important, and the way he moved through the room was like watching someone who wasn't affected by the chaos of the world around him. Women were naturally drawn to Chris, not because of his looks, wealth, or social status, but because of his composure. He didn't react to every little situation, nor did he engage in drama. Instead, he remained calm and centered, which gave him a level of intensity that was magnetic. Women could feel that he was grounded, and that made him incredibly attractive. Personal reflection: the most powerful men I've met are the ones who seem like they've seen it all. They don't get rattled easily. They face challenges and adversity and emerge with wisdom. This emotional stability is what makes them feel like a rock in a sea of uncertainty. Women feel safe and secure around them because they know that these men won't waver when things get tough. This calmness isn't just attractive, it's magnetic. Sign 4. The man who knows when to walk away. The power of detachment. Another irresistible quality in men is the ability to walk away. Now, this doesn't mean ghosting someone or being rude. It's about knowing when you're worth more than the situation or the person you're dealing with. The man who knows when to detach is incredibly attractive because he values himself enough to not settle. Example: I've had clients tell me stories about women who tested their boundaries, whether by canceling plans, texting other men, or generally being disrespectful. The man who knows when to walk away doesn't engage in emotional drama. He calmly removes himself from the situation and leaves. There's a story from one of my clients, James, who was dating a woman who kept texting other men, even though she claimed they were just friends. Instead of confronting her with anger or jealousy, James said, "Look, you can do whatever you want, but I'm not the guy who waits around for someone to figure out if I'm worth it." He deleted her number and stopped communicating. 2 weeks later, she was in his DMs, apologizing and wanting to reconnect. By then, James had already moved on. He was detached and knew his worth. Personal insight: detachment is not about being cold or indifferent. It's about knowing your value. When you realize that your time is precious and that you don't need anyone's approval, you stop chasing people who don't match your energy. Women are drawn to this because it signals that you are secure in yourself and that you won't settle for less than you deserve. This is the kind of power that makes you irresistible. Sign 5. The man who makes her feel like the only woman in the room. Women are not just attracted to words. They are attracted to the way a man makes them feel. And one of the most powerful things a man can do is make her feel like she is the only woman in the room, even if there are other people around. This type of presence isn't about speaking loudly or trying to get attention. It's about making her feel like she matters. Example: a woman shared a story about a man she met at a party. She was surrounded by people, yet every time she glanced at him, he didn't look away. He made eye contact with her confidently, but not in an intrusive or overwhelming way. Eventually, she walked up to him and started a conversation. Her first words were, "You looked like you didn't need anyone, but I wanted to be the one you wanted." That's the power of presence. He wasn't chasing her, but his calm confidence made her feel desired. Personal insight: when I reflect on my own experiences, the most captivating men I've encountered didn't need to be the loudest or the most talkative. Their presence alone made women feel special. It's not about grand gestures. It's about how a man makes a woman feel when he looks at her or when he engages with her. This presence is silent yet powerful, and it stays with her long after the interaction ends. Sign 6. The man who turns his pain into power. The last type of man women are drawn to is the man who has faced hardship and grown from it. He's been through painful experiences, heartbreak, betrayal, loss. And instead of becoming bitter, he's used that pain to fuel his personal growth. This man doesn't hide his scars. He wears them as armor, not for sympathy, but because he's embraced his story. Example, I know a man who went through a very painful breakup that left him devastated. But instead of wallowing in despair, he decided to focus on himself. Working out, traveling, reading, and building a new direction in his life. When he started dating again, women noticed something different about him. He was calm, wise, and emotionally grounded. His past had made him stronger, and that emotional depth was magnetic. Personal reflection. It's easy to let pain and hardship define you in a negative way, but the most attractive men I know have used their struggles as stepping stones. They don't shy away from their past. They own it. And when women see a man who has walked through fire and come out the other side stronger, they are drawn to him not because he's perfect, but because he radiates emotional strength. To summarize, women aren't just attracted to material wealth, flashy cars, or social status. The men who truly captivate women are the ones who embody presence, emotional mastery, purpose, detachment, and integrity. These are the men who leave lasting impressions. Men who don't need to chase, perform, or prove anything. They just are. To become that man, you don't need to buy the most expensive things or act inauthentically. What you need is to focus on your inner strength and authenticity. Master these qualities, and you will naturally draw women in, not because of your possessions, but because of who you are. Remember, women are looking for a man who knows his worth and doesn't need anyone else to validate it. Be the man who walks with emotional stability, confidence, and purpose, and you will be the man women can't forget.